I want to welcome you to Jefferson City Christian Church this morning. Really glad that you're here. We're going to continue our series on the 5 things that God uses to grow our faith. Today we're going to be talking about providential relationships. It's the idea that your faith gets bigger when we do life together. Again, your faith will get so much bigger when we do life together. You know, as a pastor, there are a lot of people that talk to me about their faith journey. And it's interesting, I've never heard somebody talk about their faith journey and growing in their faith without talking about somebody, anybody, a person. They would always begin their statement like, you know, I was really struggling with my faith, and then somebody talked to me. Somebody shared their faith with me. Somebody encouraged me, and I got an understanding about God that I didn't have before. Or they may say something like this, you know, I was really having a difficult situation, and then somebody called me up. Somebody invited me over. Somebody talked to me. They got me through that difficult situation. They really helped me out. They gave me some advice that I still remember today. Or maybe this is the conversation maybe you've even experienced in your own life. You know, I attended that church for years, and I loved the preaching, and I loved the worship, and I went every Sunday, but I just never felt connected. But then they invited me to their home, or they invited me to that class, and I started interacting with other people, and through that interaction, my faith got bigger, and my connection to God was that much better, because just simply somebody took the time to invite me. So today we're going to be talking about those somebodies. We're going to be talking about those providential relationships in our life that God puts there to help us grow in our faith. And the reason that I'm standing outside of a church this morning is because I'm at Westtown Christian Church. And what I want to do today is I want to introduce you to 2 people in my life who were providential relationships in my life. I'm real excited about it. So I welcome you to church, and I look forward to seeing you guys inside.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you don't let show.
So just call on me, brother, when you need a hand.
We all need somebody to lean on.
I just might have a problem that you understand.
We all need somebody to lean on.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean just might have a problem that you understand.
We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you'll just call me, call me, call me, call me.
I'm here inside Westtown Christian Church in a very quiet room. I'm here to introduce to you Ron Bull, who is one of the associate pastors here at Westtown Christian Church, and Jason Wharton, who is a lead pastor over at Farragut Christian Church. These are two people that I would consider providential relationships in my life. And I use the word providential because these are people that God put in my life at a very specific time when I felt like I needed these kinds of relationships the most. And here's the thing. I wasn't like struggling with my faith in God or whether I should believe in God. Really, it was a time, and I'll just kind of set up the background. It was a time in 1997, I had entered Johnson Bible College, and I had just started, but in 1998, I found myself in a position where I was a youth pastor all of a sudden, and I felt unprepared. And so it was sort of a faith crisis where I was asking God, I'm quite not sure if you want me in this place, if I'm going to be good. So I do remember calling Ron and meeting you at Taco Bell and saying help.
It's a good place.
I think I just said help and just like, I don't know what I'm doing. But through our relationship and Jason's relationship we had in youth ministry, they really helped me through a lot of just what to do as a youth pastor, but also more than that. It became really more than that, and that's really what I want to talk about. How it's not just about Bible stuff. It became about life.
Right.
And so the first question I had for you guys is, do you have that kind of relationship that you can talk about? A person in your life that God put there at a specific time, you would call it a providential relationship that was there at the right time, and how did it impact your life? I'll start with you, Ron.
So, like, I have countless numbers, right? I actually keep a list, and there's 103 on my list. But one of them was a youth sponsor when I was growing up in high school, and we had a great youth minister, did a great job. I really am fond of him. But it was one of the youth sponsors, and I think it was partly because I knew they weren't paid to do what they were doing, and that they spoke the truth at a time in my life when I really needed to hear it, and they spoke it with no ulterior motive. Nobody's saying, hey, this is what you're supposed to say and you're paid to say it. And that relationship has continued all the way through. I mean, I still check in with him and am just amazed at that, what God did in my life because of that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what I've noticed in my life is that these providential relationships have changed through time. Not that they go away, but God keeps putting new ones in.
Yeah.
As I go through different stages of life, I need new people to be in my life to help me through that new stage. And so when I was youth minister, it was this relationship here that really helped me when I needed to figure out how to do something. I called you all and said, how did you all do this? And so when I became senior minister, I found elders in my church that was that for me as well. But I think probably the ones that I think about the most was my youth minister growing up, Dave Mullins. And he came at just the right time. There was a youth ministry change when I was, I guess, a 6th, 7th grader. And that's when he came, and his personality just kind of matched with mine. And I think one of the reasons I'm in ministry is because of that, and his influence on me. And then another youth member, Daniel Overdorf, we kind of all bonded together, and the three of us were always together. And I think it was that providential relationship that probably moved me into ministry. I think that one thing that we've already talked about off air is that the idea of family and how important that is. And so I think we all would agree that family is providential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you take that out, take out our spouses, those that are outside of that, it would probably be that one for me.
That's good. I'm glad you said those people outside of our family, because most people that see me at the church, at least they see my dad was on staff with me, my brother's on staff with me. So I mean, there's even a joke about this is the Emmerich Christian Church, and so they would say, well, why didn't you in ministry go to your family, or why don't you go to your family? Like you said, we have family, and like you said, we love our spouses and we talk to our spouses. I know you all have great relationships. And you have great families that you can go to, but I think there's some very validity, I guess I should say, in finding diversity in the people that you are doing life with. And for me, that was important because what I've said before is I wasn't even married when we met, and so I went through dating life, married life, kid life. There's so many life changes that I've gone through, and so many different people who have helped me through those stages of life. So talk about that a little bit. Why should we diversify the people we do life with?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with we are really bad as humans at identifying our own weaknesses, and identifying our own error in thinking. Yeah, and it really does take, and a lot of times it needs to be somebody other than your spouse. Who comes along and says, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about the impact of looking at it a different way? And I think we all need that. And it happens when you have built trust. And so that person has spoken truth into your life and you feel like you can actually believe them. And then you start to say, okay, what they're telling me this, maybe it's worth listening to.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that this relationship was so good because you had someone about your same age, and then you had someone much older.
Yes, that's right.
You're right.
That's right. That's right.
And I think you got to have that. You got to have someone who's going through it at the same pace as you are to be able to relate to. But we have to have people older than us who've gone through things and go, oh, I remember doing that, and here's how I did that. And I think it shows where your strengths are and your weaknesses. And if we aren't perceptive enough, we don't know where our blind spots are. And a friend can come along and say, you know what, you're not thinking about that right. And we've got to give them permission to speak into our lives that way. And that's something that we don't always do. But if it is a good friend, they speak into us, we get upset, but yet we're still going to be able to be there with them and work through that because our differences are there, but our strengths are there as well as we talk to each other.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Like when I look at my list of 103, most of those people are older than me. And that's just going to be natural when you're younger, especially because everybody's going to be older than you. But there are some that are younger than me. And so there are those times where it's somebody who you just admire the way they live, and that influences you. So.
Well, that's interesting because you're saying they're younger than you, and it's not as in you're going to help that young person. You're saying that this younger person is still speaking into your life.
They are actually setting an example for me and making an impact.
Which I think is critical for us that there's a humility that has to be in our lives to allow that to happen, which is critical in these relationships. So.
Yeah, and one of the words I put down in my questions is there is a danger in doing life alone. It can be dangerous if we don't find people who are pouring into us and that we are pouring into. And so that's one of the questions I have for you guys is what do you think is the biggest danger? And some of you've hit on is what is the biggest danger in not finding the people to do life with and trying to do it by yourself?
I mean, one of the things is everybody's going to have valleys. Life is going to, that's part of it. You're going to have critical moments in your life where things are down, and you need those people to be able to come and come alongside you and speak truth in it. And if you haven't cultivated that beforehand, you can't do it in the moment. I mean, the crisis isn't the time. So you need to already have the relationships that you can lean on when that happens. There's a scripture that so many proverbs fit this, but it says, fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. And it's like, nobody wants to be a fool, right? Nobody wants to be called that. And so it's like, well, how can I avoid being a fool? Well, one of the ways is I can not think my own way is right and instead listen to others. So that avoids the danger of being alone.
So true. Yeah. So true.
I was thinking about this from the angle of if we try to do it alone, we stunt our growth. The reason we stunt our growth is because we don't have someone speaking in to our life to cause us to grow. I think when that providential relationship is your spouse, we see this a lot, where there's a lot of women who continue to grow emotionally, but we see a lot of marriages struggle because the men stop growing emotionally. They stunt their growth. They don't want to go down those paths. And it's because they're not letting someone speak into their life on that emotional level. And I think it's critical for us to be successful in life, to be successful in relationships, to have people who will speak into that and say, you got to grow in these areas. And when we try to go it alone, we're going to miss out on that.
I thought of a sports analogy, like when you're on a sports team that's the best team, and you're always playing teams that are not to your level. You think you're the best. You think you can just go through the season and you're undefeated and everything, but then you get to that tournament, and then you get against other people who are really good, and then you realize, oh man, you know, and then you think there are people in life who get to those critical moments, those valleys you're talking about, and man, they hit those valleys and they're not prepared. They're just not prepared to deal with that, and so it prepares you. I feel like when we're helping each other out in these valley times and these times when we need people in our lives. So true.
Sports Illustrated's good. I mean, I can see where if you're in the C League,
Yeah.
right? You may dominate the C League,
Yeah.
and then you move to the B League, and it's things get better, and you're like, oh wow, and you're not even at the A League yet. And that's going to come later. So you've got to constantly be looking for people who you can look up to and learn from.
Wow. So here's the next question. The last question I had is, there are so many scriptures that talk about this subject of relationships and finding wisdom and things. What are a couple things, or maybe one or two scriptures in your life that have meant the most when it comes to finding providential relationships, finding life together relationships? What for you works in Scripture?
Probably one of the Bible stories that just stands out to me as kind of funny is the whole thing with Ananias and Saul. And the reason is, you think about it, God tells Ananias, hey, go. He tells him exactly where to go. You're going to find this guy, right? And you're going to meet him. And Ananias is like, what? Like, are you serious? So Ananias gets this direct revelation from God to go do it. If he didn't have a direct revelation from God, if it was just a gut feeling, I don't think he would have done it, because this was big time stuff. But he goes and meets Saul, and God uses that. For us, I don't know that we often get that direct revelation like Ananias did, but I think us prayerfully being aware of who God is putting in my life for me to learn from, but also who is God putting in my life for me to speak truth into, to come to pour into. And really, I've got to be led by God, even if it's not God putting the voice in my head. It's me praying and listening to see who he's directing me to.
Because we don't have that option sometimes. We don't have the option of who God puts in our lives sometimes. Sometimes it's the people we choose, but sometimes it's just where we are.
Right. Right.
We go to work with the people we go to work with sometimes. It's just the way it is. We go to school with the people we go to school with,
Right.
It's so true.
Yeah. I thought about this question from a different angle, but as Ron was talking, I think there's so many illustrations in the Bible of relationships that were beneficial for one another. You think of Moses and Aaron. You think of Elijah and Elisha. You think of David and Jonathan. I mean, just on down, where God doesn't want us to go by ourselves. There are people with us. Even Jesus himself. I mean, he had the 12, but he spoke into the 3 that were there with him much more. But specific scriptures that came to mind for me, one was Hebrews 10, 24 and 25, and we actually use this most to try to make people remember to go to church,
sure, right.
Which is ironic in the crisis we're in right now. But I think it applies to this as well. It says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. I think that meeting together is probably a more corporate setting, but I think it applies here as well, that you are encouraging, that trying to move people on toward love and good deeds. I think that's part of it. I also thought of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 9 through 12, where it talks about the idea that 2 are better than 1. And that the end of that is a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken, and that this is how we stay strong and stay together, is by investing in each other, investing in people our own age, but also investing in people older and younger as well, so that we can all grow together.
Yeah, that first scripture, I think about garage door openers and air conditioners. have changed the way we live.
I agree.
Right? Because you hit the button, you drive in, you hit the button again, and the windows are closed, you turn on TV, you get on the computer, whatever, and you could totally entertain yourself and never hang out with another human soul. It takes effort to actually say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually try to be around other people. So it's a lot harder now to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's much easier for most people to do things themselves instead of calling someone up, getting them there on a time schedule that works for both of you.
Yep.
But how critical it is, and how, as Christians, this is what we are called to do, is invest this way. So.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you how much, just bringing you here, I can't tell you how much what you guys have meant to my life over the years, and investing in me personally, and what our relationship has been over the last 20 plus years. All the tennis games and all the talks we had and all the moments we've had in history. It was truly providential in my life. I want to thank you guys for everything that you guys have done.
Well, you guys have done the same for me. You guys are on my list of 103. You're near the top. So.
I just started my list today, and you two are on.
Very good.
Yeah, really.
And we made the list. That's awesome. List of 2.
So, but thank you guys, and we hope that this conversation has just helped you guys as well. So thanks for hanging out with us for a little while.
You are good when there's nothing good in me. You are love on display for all to see. You are light when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you have covered all my sin.
So I want to end our time together by really just trying to convince you that providential relationships are very important as it relates to growing your faith. So what I want to do is I want to end our time together by sharing with you a couple of verses that I think make a really good case for providential relationships, and not just why they're needed, but how we're going to find them. So the first thing I want to share with you is a verse of scripture found in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Now, I don't know if your parents ever used that verse on you, but I know that we've used that verse a couple of times on our kids. And usually when we're talking about it, we're saying, avoid the bad kids and don't put yourself in bad situations. But what the writer of this verse is really talking about is the idea that who you have relationships, those human connections in your life, they will have an influence on your faith for both the good and the bad. And so if there's one thing that we can do right now that I think would help us the most when it comes to providential relationships is we can start by just evaluating the relationships in our life that we have right now and asking ourselves, are these people that I'm giving my life to, giving my time to, are they making me a better person spiritually? Are they helping me out? I want you to think about that fact that we are all going to go through valleys in our life. We're all going to go through difficult situations. I want to ask the question, are the people in your life right now that you're doing life with, are they going to get you through that difficult situation and you're going to be a better person afterwards because of their advice, of their encouragement, of what they say to you? So just start off by just evaluating that relationship in your life, and really all the relationships in your life, and ask if they're going to help you out in your faith. The second verse I want to share with you is Proverbs 18:15. The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. This verse was written by what many consider the wisest person in the world. And what they're saying here is that wisdom is not a mistake. Getting wisdom and acquiring wisdom is not a mistake. It's actually something we do intentionally. The two phrases I want you to listen to in this verse is that discerning people, they acquire knowledge. Wise people, they seek it out. In other words, these are action steps we do to get wisdom. I think the same thing applies to your providential relationships in life. We have to be intentional when it comes to providential relationships. And so to help you out with that, I've come up with 4 things that I think would help you out by finding intentionally these providential relationships in your life. And here's the first one. I want you to spend some time in prayer. I mean, the reason these are providential relationships is because, again, God's putting these people in your life. I think the best thing you could do right now is probably just spend some time in prayer and ask God to make the people that He's already put in your life known to you. Again, just God, give me your eyes. Give me the wisdom to see these people, to find these people, because if you've put them there, I want to find them. So maybe the first step and the best step for you after you've evaluated your relationship is going back and just praying to God to help you find the relationships that He's put in your life to help you right now. And so here's the second thing. Avoid making excuses. Yeah, I know I said that sometimes we make excuses. And look, kids are good, but adults are great at this. And the thing is when you're an adult, I think you feel a little more justified in the excuses you make because kids, we look at them and think, oh man, their excuses, they're just kids. But our excuses, they're better, right? But a lot of times we do this to avoid connecting with other people. We may say, well, I just have a great relationship with my wife. I don't need anybody else in my life right now. And I think of what Jason said in our meeting about just how emotionally men can get in a rut and maybe not grow as fast as women, and how we need other men in our life that we can connect with and talk with to maybe broaden our horizon when it comes to our emotions. I think of sometimes when adults use their kids as excuses. We may say that, yeah, I'm too busy after work. I have a lot of kid activities. I want to just spend time with my kids and my family, and I want to do this with them and that. I am there with you. I have 3 kids, and I know how busy it can get. We're all busy. But I want to challenge you with the idea that these relationships in your life, providential relationships, are so important. We have to make time. We have to diversify ourselves. We have to get in there, and we have to stop making excuses of why we can't do it and start thinking of ways that we can get these connections in our lives. And here's the third thing. You need to take advantage of the things our church is doing intentionally. Here's the thing. If there's anything that COVID-19 has taught John and I as pastors, is that, you know what, it's really tough when you're isolated, when you're alone, when you've been told to stay at home for an extended amount of time. It can be really tough. And if you're sitting there right now and you're lonely, if you're feeling disconnected and you're just waiting on the next large gathering, you might want to evaluate your spiritual walk right now. You might want to evaluate the relationships in your life right now, because it's a possibility. There's a possibility that maybe you're not connected outside of the church, and that's not what we want for you. And so to combat that, I guess, is we've tried to create intentional environments for you to get connected with people at church. And during this pandemic, this is something that we're doing right now. If you've been paying attention to our emails and the things that we've been putting out, we've got this 3-phase re-entry plan at the church. Now, I'll tell you, John and I are working right now on phase 2 and phase 3. We are talking to people about how we can make the environment at church from a large church perspective really good. We're talking about worship and speaking, and again, we want to make those things really good for you. But I promise you, nothing we do at church in phase 2 and 3 can be important as what we're actually doing right now in phase 1. And that's the idea that you need to be in a team of people. You need to connect with this team on a regular basis. In fact, I'll tell you this, even when we get to phase 3 and we are meeting in a large group, the teams that you make in the next month or the teams that you involve yourself with right now, let me encourage you just to keep doing that, because those relationships are going to impact your faith even more than those large gatherings that we have. I mean it. I guarantee you that's the way that we feel. It's so vital to get into these teams, form these relationships, make a connection, because again, you want people that you can do life with, that you can be accountable to, that you can share your difficulties with. It is so important to be on these teams. So let me encourage you to enter phase 1, what we're doing right now, and find a team to be on. Sign up for a team, because it's so important. And here's the last thing. Don't make things difficult. The last thing we want you to feel like is that we're wanting you to do things at the church that are burdensome to you. We want these team of people in your life to be part of your life because you choose to make them that way, and that it's just a natural part of your life. We don't want it to be one more thing that you've added to your life. And so one of the things I want you to think about as you're making your team is I want you to think about the things that you already do in your day, and maybe just try to include other people in it. For example, breakfast and lunch are things that we do already. So if you want to eat breakfast with someone or grab some lunch, great. Grab somebody and do that with, and just have a conversation. And if you're someone that likes to exercise during the day, maybe take a walk or work out, just invite your team to come along and do that with you. Again, these things that we're asking you to do, these teams we're asking you to be on, we want them to be part of your life. We want you to do life with them. And so we don't want this to be a difficult thing for you. I don't want you to think of it as a Bible study that you have to prepare for and memorize right now. Again, it's great if you guys get together and do some Bible study, but that's not like a requirement. Our heart behind these teams is that you find people that you connect with, that you share your life with, that you maybe share your difficulties with, that you keep accountable, maybe ask some difficult questions like, how are you? How's your marriage? How's your life outside of church, outside of work? Are you doing okay? Again, these people in your life, we want to be people that make your life grow in your faith, that help you out, but we do not want it to be a difficult thing in your life. We want it to be a good thing. So let me just end by saying, please consider getting on a team. Please consider finding these providential relationships in your life that God's put there, because we believe that when you find providential relationships, your faith will get bigger.
It don't have a job. Don't pay your bills. Won't buy you a home in Beverly Hills.
Won't fix your life in 5 easy steps. Hate the law of the land or the government, but it's all you need. Love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm, and I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. It's waiting for you, knocking at your door. In the moment of truth, when your heart hits the floor and you're on your knees, and love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm, and I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. And love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm, and I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone.
Hi, everybody. Greg Schlosser here. Just starting to look a little bit like my 1979 high school yearbook photo. Boy, do I need a haircut. Hey, listen, tomorrow, our first team bundle is going to be emailed out to everyone. It's going to contain games, discussions, ideas, and Bible studies for your team to use. If you haven't yet joined a team, call a few friends and invite them. Or email info@jeffcitychurch.com and tell us about your group. Join in the fun. Also, set a reminder for yourself on your phone right now to join in Monday, that's tomorrow, at 12:15 for a live Facebook chat with John and Luke. Their weekly live event is held every Monday at 12:15, just after noon, and it's full of laughter, church news, stories, and further thoughts on Sunday's message. We also can't thank everyone enough for their continued financial support of Jefferson City Christian Church. We know that you've had to make a lot of changes in your life in these troubled times, but the fact that you found a way to continue to give and to give generously is something that is admirable and so appreciated. God loves a cheerful giver, and we believe that God will bless you in your decision to give and to continue to give. If you'd like to continue or to start giving to Jefferson City Christian Church, there's numerous ways you can do that. Number one is to just click the little link right here on YouTube for online giving. A second way is to go to our church website, which is jeffcitychurch.com, and click the online giving button right at the top. You can also mail your gift to 1439 Hicks Road, Jefferson City, Tennessee, 37760. Now, all of the mail goes into a post office box, so you can rest assured that it's safe. And finally, you can drop by the church anytime Monday through Thursday from 9 to noon and give in person. Also want to make a few Vacation Bible School announcements. Let's get ready to focus in 2020. We're super excited to announce a new fun way to do VBS. Now, we know that VBS is a big part of our children's lives and the kids' summer, so we want to make sure that even in spite of these troubled times, we continue to do it, and this summer would be no different for them. So this year, we're going to be offering a virtual VBS experience. Don't worry, there's still going to be music, crafts, plus large and small group experiences. Sign-ups for the VBS begin on May the 24th for both kids and volunteers. VBS is actually going to be held June 21st through 25th. Barbie will be hosting a Facebook Live event on Wednesday, May the 20th at 5 o'clock to answer any questions that you might have. Have a wonderful week, stay safe, and God bless.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. In the name of Jesus, amen.